Good evening people, happy Socialist Sunday here on Remembrance Sunday live stream here on my left eye. I'm your host Lefty. A warm welcome to everybody. Hope you're well, have you had a good week? Let us know in the chat, which is looking pretty lively already, it's good to see. I think Davinia has the plaudits for first arrival. Stu as well, Mr. Pike Bishop, Flowsnake, Doc Davies. Jamie Alice, great to see you as well. Idiosyncrasy, JK, lots of people joining us. Please do make sure that you hit thumbs up as you join us on stream. MIDI Doctors just arriving as well. Hope you like the little Remembrance Sunday intro there. Fight for peace. Fight against fascism. Lest we forget. For anyone outside the UK, we celebrate Remembrance Sunday, the nearest Sunday to Armistice Day, which is coming up on the 11th. That's celebrated, of course, the end of World War I at 11 AM. On the 11th day of the 11th hour. 107 years ago. It looks as though you're all doing well, that's good to see in the chat. Davinia, you were here 45 minutes ago. I hope I did put it down as 8 PM, I think, on the schedule. That's patience. I do appreciate the patience. That's dedication. Arriving 45 minutes early. Dominique Jones also joining us in the chat too. Quite a few members in the chat as well. Some of you might have spotted just before we came on air, a short while before the stream started that is, uploaded a new video which is currently members first. Please do check that one out if you can. It's a bit of an insight into the climate crisis as well as the rise of international defence spending. Well, particularly in the West, should we say, and Northern Hemisphere. Do check that out. I will be doing a bit of separate content about COP30 itself when it's all over, for what it's worth anyway. I personally think it's all performative nonsense. Saw some pictures of Prince William on his private jet earlier on the way to COP30, just putting the final touches to his speech. Are you sure about the optics on this one? Oh yes, Your Highness, Your Majesty, Your Grace. Completely brilliant publicity. On the private jet, on the way to the COP conference. Yeah, so I might even go into that a little bit on the stream, but do check out that recent video, please, people. And I think since I was last with you on stream, which would have been Wednesday for PMQs, or should I say, Interim Deputy Prime Minister's Questions featuring Lammy's Lingo, we've just passed over 5,500 subscribers on the channel, which coming up to 5,500, so that's brilliant. Speaking of brilliance and magnificence, this is the latest hot off the press. Members, roster people, thank you very much for all of your support. And if you want to join this list of marvellous members, it's just 99 pence per month for a membership. Lots of perks for you to enjoy, check them out, including members first content, as I just mentioned, plus other bits and pieces, exclusive stuff. Appreciate all of the support. Also want to say thanks to people who've bought us coffees on the Buy Me a Coffee page recently. Also people who've used super chats and super thanks recently and gifted memberships to others, which is the preferred way of helping to support the channel if you can on YouTube, but if you can't, please do check out that link for the Buy Me a Coffee page in the description. So 115 members on the way to the target of 250 now. Thanks again, everybody. Now you can see, just give that a flash. It's at 115. Credit to all of the members, new and legacy alike. Also shout out to the Sunday live streams background music band, Herbie Ranger and the Supersonics. Just keeping that chill vibe in the background. I won't have it too loud, gets a bit overbearing. Tends to piss off people who watch back later on 1.5 times speed as well, which is perfectly fine to do if you're watching back later. Davinia, you have an upcoming birthday preemptive. Happy returns to you, if I'm not on stream on Thursday, that is. Preemptive congratulations.
Can you dig it?
Got a Universal Credit Review phone call on your birthday. Well, that says it all. That says it all. Okay, let's get into the lounge. Fondue Lounge, another Sunday tradition here on the Sunday live streams. Let's check in with Keith and Co. and see what's happening in the Fondue Lounge. Actually, first of all, record scratch moment. No, I just want to say, obviously, it's been another record low for Keith in the polls. Please do check out that other recent video of ours. Was it I can't remember the name of the pollster, but 436 seats, was it? 386 seats. They look projected to jettison in the Find Out Now. It was a Find Out Now poll. Do check that one out as well. Not been a great week, not been a great premiership overall for Keith Starmer. He's resorting to fondue parties to cheer himself up, of course.
Oh no!
Back in the lounge once again. We won't linger too long, because something that obviously lingers a little bit too long is something that emanates from Margaret Hodges' you-know-where. So we'll just quickly fill you in with what's coming up on the stream. Zach Polanski's been all over the media rounds. We're going to take a bit of a look at that. He's been absolutely killing it recently. People, you have to concede that, whatever your political standing, but we're right behind Zach, as well as we are your party, of course. He made an appearance on the last leg as well, so I've got a few clips from that. Hitting new heights. Lisa Nandy has been in it this week. Controversy over an appointment, somebody who she appointed, and also all this business over the Maccabi Tel Aviv game, the Aston Villa the Aston Villa ban, I should say. Maccabi Tel Aviv fans not being welcome. That's blown back in her face as well. We'll be taking a bit of a look at that, as well as other UK news. Might check in on, as I said, the latest at COP30, as well as Gaza as well. So not a great week for Keith. Graham Turner's just joined us in the chat. Solidarity, happy Socialist Sunday. Peasants Revolt as well. Joining us from the States, I believe. Peasants Revolt. Peasants Revolt. With the rolling R's. Great to see you as well. Keith himself is, of course, in the aforementioned COP. Not doing much. It's all fake platitudes, isn't it? I mean, might come on to it later in the stream, but all I'll say for now is, if they worked, you wouldn't fucking need 30 of them, would you? I remember saying this last year and the year before. Ad nauseum. I've got a couple of comedy clips as well on the stream. I'll be kicking off with the first of those. Why does the Starmer puppets look like Kenneth Baker from the 80s? I am not certain who you're referring to, the Divinia. That's a little bit out of my range, but it's certainly late 70s, 80s theme, isn't it? Sort of the brown stuff. Have you ever seen the pictures on social media of the old school, like McDonald's and places with the brown and yellow motif and the ashtrays? These, yes, McDonald's ashtrays. So it's that similar brown and yellow motif. I guess that was the same era as the fondue fad, was it? But some 80s stuff a lot of 80s stuff in fact is coming back now. Bit of revival stuff. You know, you've got a lot of people I know with mullets and moustaches. Style wise that is, but not quite the colour schemes. Moved on to different palettes now. Is that Shep? We don't know whose the dog is. This has been an ongoing thing with the Fondue Lounge. Don't know whose the dog is. Tried to alert the PCA, but they just keep telling me it's just an insert on a Sunday night YouTube live stream, so they can't really do much about it. Don't know if that's Lisa and Nandy at the back either. I do feel sorry for the dog though, as always. And the Cold War as well, yes, Mr. Pike Bishop, that's another 80s throwback, some retro stuff that's happening with the 80s. Try to think of some others. The perm haircut, that was a thing. Well, curly hair, I don't know. Neoliberalism's going strong. Thatcherism, Reaganism. That sort of thing. 80s all over again. From what I know, it sounds like something that I don't think the world should be put through again. Get your final mouthfuls, people. We'll check back in with Keith a little bit later on the stream. But that's all from the Fondue Lounge for now. Let's crack on.
Oh no.
Hello, I'm from the Canadian government. Now listen up, kids. Banker Daddy says we need to make some sacrifices. Better healthcare? No. Public services? Sorry. Fair wages? Get back to work. Billions in subsidies for MAGA-owned projects? Oh look, that we can afford. Introducing the Xelism's LNG Terminal, the project that sacrifices taxpayers, workers, First Nations, water, salmon, the climate, and Canadian sovereignty all in one. Xelism's. If built, Xelism's will export our fracked gas to Asia, causing more carbon emissions than coal, and Canada's energy bills to skyrocket. We saw that happen in Australia, and we can't wait to make the exact same mistake here. That's why we're blowing billions in taxpayer subsidies on it, cause nothing says build Canada strong, like a barge built in Korea with non-Canadian steel. Will it create long-term Canadian jobs? Thousands. Well, more like 200 if you read the fine print. Does it make any economic sense? Nope. The world is heading for an LNG glut, and prices just went negative. So will taxpayers be left on the hook if this becomes a stranded asset? You bet. But hey, we can always convert this into an LNG-powered data center to make glorious Katie Prudhoe fan art. Okay, so it's a shit deal, but at least it's an indigenous-led project. Except it's not. Xelism's is 100% American-owned by a Texas company that's financed by Wall Street firms. Firms like Blackstone, whose CEO Steve is one of Trump's top donors and closest advisors. Nothing says elbows up like giving Il Duce's inner circle control of our energy energy infrastructure. And Apollo, whose founder Leon gave Epstein $170 million for tax advice while chilling on his pedo island. Oh look, Leon even wrote Jeff a birthday poem, which reads, blonde, red, or brunette, spread out geographically. With this net of fish, Jeff's now the old man in the... Hello, I'm from the government of BC, where even if you're a pedo-loving mega shitbag, Dave says,
we welcome you.
In fact, he's so desperate, he'll even build you a new transmission line, so you can hook up xylisms to our hydropower. Don't worry, taxpayers will pay for it. So what if BC's already running out of power and water? As fracking companies drain our aquifers during a climate drought, Dawson Creek can always drink its own tears when it runs out of water. Oh, and to carry that fracked gas to xylisms, we'll need a new pipeline. Introducing the Prince Rupert Gas Transmission Pipeline, which, much like Coastal GasLink before it, will shit on indigenous rights and countless salmon streams that ensure food security for people across BC. That is why the Gitxsan and Gitineau are erecting blockades, burning their benefit agreements, and telling us to edda yin from their lands. They're block yip, setting the scene for another major confrontation. But don't worry, we're ready to reconciliation them. That's why Mark's adding these projects to our fast-track list, while expanding police powers to treat land defenders as terrorists. And it's why we've hired Bechtel. You know, the guys who pushed for bombing Iraq, then got no big contracts to rebuild it. Perfect credentials for punching a pipeline through unceded indigenous lands. And finally, it's why we've brought in the world's experts at screwing First Nations to build LNG terminals. Woodside Energy from Australia. Hello, I'm from Woodside. As members of the Rockies LNG Consortium backing the xylisms and PRGT pipeline, we're excited to bring our winning formula of bastardry to Canada. The LNG industry has done wonders for Australia, capturing politicians, paying fuck all royalties, causing energy bills to skyrocket, and in the case of our Northwest Shelf LNG terminal, taking a big shit on sacred sites like Murajuga, where Aboriginal people are fighting to stop us from erasing 40,000-year-old rock art. Thanks, Woodside. We can't wait to have you here in BC. You're welcome, morons. Neither can we. xylisms and PRGT pipeline, bringing together MAGA oligarchs, US warmongers, and Aussie bastardry to help us fuck Canadians. Because the only sacrifice we won't make is taxing billionaires to fix the budget deficit. A message from the government of Canada. This is a developing story, so do not follow Dogwood and the Luckyip Firekeepers to stay up to date with the situation. Links in the video description. Do not click them.
The Juice Media, very good. That goes out to, I think we do have a few Canadian viewers, but that's the situation over the Atlantic there. Yeah, shocking. As bad as us in the UK. I don't think it's AI, I think it's dubbed over. The voice is dubbed over, but it's not AI, they're real people in the video. I just think that they put the voices over afterwards or something, or use different people for the voices. Or maybe it's just lag, I don't know. Yeah, do go and check them out. I will be putting the link in the description. So definitely don't check out that other link that they're referring to once you follow the link that I'm going to put. It's a rabbit hole of links, but you'll get to the truth, people. Juice Media, go and subscribe. Quality people. Specs Bean Farmer, good to see you. Yeah, I'm not shocked. They put a former governor of Bank of England with Mark Carney in charge of a country. What did they expect to happen? It's not going to have any socialist epiphany, that's for sure. That's the thing. That's the thing with capitalists, with hyper-capitalists especially. It would be extraordinarily rare for them to have some sort of, as I said, epiphany or revelation, change of heart, rise of consciousness, whatever you want to describe it. If you want something from them, it has to be taken from them, from their sweaty, greasy palms. So yeah, banker by trade, wanker by nature, Mark Carney, current leader of Canada. p.m. Albedo. A Marxist brainworm. Interesting idea. Well, we're already working on training primates and marsupials to operate computer equipment, but not sure if we'll diverge into another biological project. I don't know. I'd rather just inspire people with content, of course, on my left eye. Another comedy clip later on, and now we'll get into clips and other things. I'll just start off with a quick skim through an article, and then go on to an interview and other stuff. Oh, actually, which one I should... Actually, no. First of all, we'll start off with Zach Polanski's appearance on Trevor Phillips on Sky earlier today. He's doing really... I can't overemphasise how well he's doing on the media rounds. You wouldn't think that this was the leader from what was a short time ago. Very small party, now up to over 150,000 members, and if current projections are correct, the 4 seats that they have, the rather humble 4 seats that they have at the moment, could soon be multiplied many times. We'll have to see. But he's absolutely killing it on TV and never gets caught out. You know what the mainstream media are like. They try and throw what they think are curveballs at anybody with a decent sense of morality who appears in interviews or whatever it is. They all out war on socialism. Socialism's a dirty word. You won't hear that word in all of this, you know. You're going to hear Polanski-nomics and all sorts of other... The same way it was back when Corbyn was leader of the opposition. Corbynism isn't a thing. Democratic socialism is a thing. He was just your bog standard democratic socialist, so they'll dance around. They'll use 1,000 words before they use the S word, socialism. Trevor Phillips, who's going to be interviewing Zach in this clip. What can you say about him? Again, this is Sky News. Hacked to the rafters with Tories. Used to be Murdoch owned, it's now been sold to Americans, but of course there's still a lot of Murdochian influence throughout the media. He's going to be passing the baton on to his more right-wing son, it's been decided. Because apparently the other son, who was sort of in the running for the inheritance, doesn't want anything to do with his father's style of politics or the way that he runs media, which is actually pretty interesting. Both politically and socially socialist, from what I understand, or just more than his brother. Anyway, let's get on to the interview. Just a bit of an excerpt from this.
Zach Polanski, you'll be attending the Remembrance Day rituals today. Why does this day remain relevant?
It remains relevant because we still live in a world that's particularly in global turmoil right now, where the threat of war remains ever constant. And indeed, whether it's in Gaza or Sudan, there are conflicts and genocides happening throughout the world. I think the important moment to stop today is both to remember the fallen victims, to remember the world wars we've had, and also to look ahead towards peace and diplomacy, and how we can work together across nations to make sure that peace is never taken as something that is complacent or a given, but actually is always an active piece of work to strive towards a more peaceful world.
When you say fallen victims, you do include the military, the soldiers in that?
Yeah, undoubtedly, people who gave their life for this country.
Your party wants to get rid of nuclear weapons, move to emphasis onto...
Why wouldn't he? Did he think that was a tough question there, or a gotcha question again? Do you include the soldiers in that? Why wouldn't he? When have they never been included in that? Of course. Where's that question come from?
Diplomacy, development, and so on and so forth. If Greens were part of a government, would we expect to have fewer men and women underarmed by the end of your term of office?
Well, I think that depends what's happening in the world. I think it would always be foolish to assume anything about military budgets without knowing the political context you're working in. I would say more widely, though, if we're talking about right now, we've got a Prime Minister who's spending £15 billion on nuclear weapons and at the same time saying there's no money to lift the two-child benefit cap, for instance, something that's keeping 350,000 children in poverty. So I think it's right to question political choices at budget time.
Surely the deterrent is valuable in a world that has Vladimir Putin in it.
Well, I want to see everyone...
Well, it clearly doesn't work then, because he's gone ahead and invaded Ukraine anyway. Ukraine are backed by nuclear-armed states, ourselves included, so as a direct deterrent, maybe it does work, but not in this case. That's for sure. The deterrent argument is bullshit, especially where nuclear weapons is concerned. I think they're going to get onto that in a bit more detail in a sec. But just with overall defence spending and the size of armies, Zach's making the perfectly legitimate point that there's always been a bottomless pit of money for war. But when society is crumbling, when people are in need, people like Starmer just turn the pockets out and say there's nothing to give. It's bullshit.
Denuclearise, including Vladimir Putin, but ultimately the only way you can do that is by showing...
But I have to say that would be in the realms of the miracle.
Well, you're laughing at it, but I think it's important that we don't laugh at peace. I think it's really important.
No, I'm laughing at the idea that Vladimir Putin is going to give up his nuclear weapons because somebody asks him to.
Well, you...
No, I mean, with... come on. Any sort of anti-proliferation agreement or anything similar to it is been, again, pretending to be dumb. They're either dumb or playing dumb. When it comes to this sort of thing, you say to whichever country it is, will you reduce by such and such? We will match that, or whatever. You get the armed nations, the nuclear armed nations, to lower the amount of weapons that they have in synchronicity until it's reduced to as close to zero as you can get it to. But in any negotiations, there's going to be give and take, isn't there, Trevor? No. Don't think Zach's proposing that you just phone up Putin, say, excuse me, you're the most nuclear-armed states in the world. Would you mind just ditching a few thousand nukes? And he'll say, oh yeah, fine, of course. That's not what he's proposing at all. And to suggest that he is ridiculous, and it's pretty beneath the levels of journalism that we expect from such platforms and somebody as experienced as Trevor Phillips, who's, again, just playing dumb with a smug sort of smile there, because he thinks that, again, that's another gotcha question that wasn't.
Could have laughed at the point of Nelson Mandela negotiating with the ANC, or we could have laughed at the Irish during the Troubles.
You're not sincerely making the comparison. Come on.
I am making the comparison. I think it's always impossible until it's done, and I think it's really important. I don't think it's likely. That's a different question. But I think the first question has to be, do you believe that we can work for peace and diplomacy in the world? Do we believe that we can work with people that we have mass disagreement with, that are they're obviously created an illegal invasion of Ukraine? These are really serious issues. And at the same time, I believe we should never leave the negotiating table. And part of that is showing both the moral and courageous leadership to come on TV and say to you, even though this might be a position that's ridiculed, I don't think we should find peace and diplomacy ridiculous. I think the most brave and courageous and authentic to do is say, I believe we can have a world without war.
So,
Yeah. You make peace with your enemies. That's why they call it making peace. Who do you attribute that quote to, people? I'll put that one to live viewers. Let me know in the chat if you know that one. We make peace with our enemies. That's why they call it making peace.
So Prime Minister Polanski would negotiate
Google it,
with
no cheating.
President Putin?
Undoubtedly, I think it would be sociopathic behaviour to say you wouldn't negotiate with the president or a prime minister of any country.
Can I just ask you, before we move on, you're wearing the white poppy as well as the red poppy. What is the implication of that?
The white poppy began after the First World War, mainly from women's groups who were talking about peace and anti-fascism. So on the same day that we remember in the fallen, it's also looking ahead to the future and saying we want a world of peace.
All right. Let's talk about...
Yeah, just quickly again on the desperation of some people. It was a right-wing account on social media. It might have even been one of the newspaper accounts, not sure. But saying, oh, they only mentioned that he wore a white one. He's obviously wearing both. And their ignorance as well. It would have just taken a quick look online, if you don't already know your history of the First World War, to find out that, yeah, Zach wants to make that special extra representation as well that often gets overlooked, and it's an official form of the poppy. Not something that he should be criticised for. But Zach Polanski brings up women's rights, and like any other mainstream presenter, Trevor Phillips will just bat that away. Yeah, okay, whatever, but on to my next piece of bullcrap. Do you remember the one recently with the Zara Sultana interviewing the Nick Robinson? And just, again, brushing, yeah, but, and just being as dismissive as that, condensing it down to 2 words, yes, but. Because they just want to move on. They don't want a further in-depth discussion about women's rights. Heaven forfend. So Trevor Phillips just wants to get going.
COP, the climate conference in Brazil. Prime Minister's coming back, having refused to put
He's got a bag full of bullshit to get through, so...
money into the Tropical Forest Forever Fund on the grounds that, frankly, we just can't afford it. He's right, isn't he?
No, it's absolutely outrageous. We often talk about the fact, or the Prime Minister often talks about, that there's no money left, but there always seems to be money for nuclear weapons. We just spoke about that. Since the pandemic began in this country, billionaire wealth has doubled, but our assets, our power and our wealth has been stripped away. And so when it comes to climate negotiations that are international, we need to look at the cost of inaction. And when we look at the Amazon rainforest, for instance, that's often described as the lungs of the world. These are vital resources, both for nature and for our well-being, but also ways of reducing carbon emissions and making sure we have carbon capture. So again, we have the Prime Minister who's spending billions of pounds on carbon capture technology and unproven technology.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. You can't bank the entire future of humanity. Obviously, the UK doesn't represent that. We are low emitters in the world, but we have to set an example. Every country on the planet that can do something has to do something. That's how serious the climate crisis is. Go into that a little bit. Again, plug time on the recent Members First video. Please do check that out. But this carbon capture is a fantasy. It doesn't exist. It's not likely to exist anytime soon, if ever at all. It's no saviour whatsoever. It's not something that I accept as a solution. It's not something that anybody should accept as a solution when they hear Keir Starmer say it, or Ed Miliband, or anybody else. It's fantasy stuff. All of the solutions are preemptive. It's about reducing emissions, not finding some magical way to try and clear up the damage retroactively, because it can't be done and systems are already collapsing. Even if we stopped everything tomorrow, we will still go over 2 degrees. That's very likely. what starts to happen at that point is so worrying, I don't even want to start to tell you, because I don't know when I'll stop. Suffice to say that it's terrifying. It's my biggest concern. I think it should be everybody's biggest concern at the moment. Anybody who cares for humanity and for future generations on this planet. And it's an attempt to whitewash. The same way that biofuels is another whitewashing thing. That is literally just burning wood. But we'll give it a nice biofuels. We'll give it a nice fancy sounding name. That'll sound like it's a renewable. So whenever you hear carbon capture, people, it's just straight up 100% purebred bullshit. Don't believe it. Don't buy it.
At scale, but can't do the basic investment in making sure that we're protecting forests. Now, he's gone to Brazil. I'm pleased, but what's he gone to Brazil for? If he's only gone there to say, oh, I'm not going to give you any more money.
Yeah, but if he were to put money into this kind of thing, I guess he would say, there's your tax.
No, Trevor. He's a neoliberal. What's going to happen here? Oh, and all these companies will get set up and they'll describe themselves as carbon capture companies, and then a shitload of government money gets poured into them, and what are they going to produce? The square root of fuck all. And then in a couple of years we're going to be at some fucking inquiry, and it's going to turn out a bunch of Starmer's pals, a bunch of Miliband's pals, whoever it is down the line, had investments in these companies, fast track contracts, the fast lane to wealth, the same way it was with Tories during COVID and the PPE scandal. Get real, Trevor. Get real. The only reason that neoliberals will set up any private enterprise is that so that they can pour a massive amount of public money into private wealth, into private hands through these bullshit shell companies that get set up, because market creation is the Bible, it's the gospel of neoliberalism. The only way you make anything, the only thing that gets approved is something that can make and expand private wealth. This guy doesn't know this. He has his own show on Sky News. He's not even minutely aware of what's happening on a macro scale.
Rises right there.
A tax rise.
Yeah. How do you pay for it? You tax people.
Well, we could bring in a wealth tax on multimillionaires and billionaires, just a 1% tax on assets of £10 million or more.
1%,
and a 2% tax
1%.
on assets of £1 billion or more.
What's 1% of a bajillion, squillion, whatever, pounds or dollars? They won't miss it. They will still be vastly wealthy. And just to emphasise how massive the wealth gap is, that 1% of the wealthiest earners' money would help out so many people at the bottom end of the ladder. Very quickly, while I'm on that, if anybody heard this thing going around recently about the new Tesla deal, that the shareholders approved a $1 trillion pay package for Elon Musk. There are some caveats that I can reassure you with. That is a grotesquely large amount of money for one individual to have. Not that he already has such with the estimated 400 billion that he's roughly worth at the moment. But back to this agreement, it does come with some terms and conditions, like I said. Some of them being that he has to follow through on the promises that he's been making for over a decade now with regard to self-driving taxis and his other industrial failings. So don't get too worried about that one, because he's no engineer, he's a failure, he's a stock market hype, fraud, Ponzi schemer, and he's not going to make any self-driving cars or taxis or any of this "we're all going to Mars" bullshit. So don't worry. Check out Thunderfoot if you want some more in-depth analysis. of Musk critique. Highly recommend that channel.
Could raise between 15 and 25 billion pounds. The wider point here, though, is about the cost of inaction. If we continue to allow both internationally and domestically carbon emissions to rise, we know we will face increasing wildfires and floods.
Oh.
These are both dangerous for people's lives, but also, if we're going to talk about the economy, they're incredibly destructive for our infrastructure and for getting around. And by the way, you don't have to take my word for it. Just listen to the insurance companies.
All right. Well, so you sound pretty disillusioned with Labour.
Yeah, they are. They know what's coming. A lot of insurance companies have actually been backing fossil fuel firms. There are large amounts of protests going on with that. I happen to know protests have taken place at Hiscox insurers, for example, other insurers here in the Northwest and with offices, that is, here in the Northwest and in London alike. So they're aware, if you think about it, aren't insurance claims going to rise exponentially? Or what about all these houses that are on the coast or near rivers? What about the fact that so much of London could be flooded by the end of the century? And I'm not being hyperbolic, people. Not being hyperbolic. The Thames Barrier won't stand a chance with what's coming. Hyperloop, that's another good example of Musk's failings in the chat. Albedo, yeah, the vacuum transportation system that will get you through the city. It just and then it just turned into a train, and then it just didn't work, and then it was nothing. And that's your classic example. If you want one classic example of Musk, air quotes, technology, that's it. He just buys out a company, pretends that he's a genius, gets them to sign everything over to him. He knows the square root of fuck all.
Party. So perhaps we can just get one thing off the table. There will be no cooperation between Greens and Labour Party to defeat reform.
Well, I don't think I'm alone in my disillusionment. And in fact, a poll out yesterday showed that the majority of the population have completely lost trust in Keir Starmer. Now, this is a man who ran on the coattails of Jeremy Corbyn but ditched every single pledge before he was even in power. We've got the two-child benefit cap, the disability cuts, the genocide in Gaza. No, Keir Starmer is not a man I would be willing to work with.
OK, so there will be no electoral deal, however informal, with Labour, even though the division on the left might...
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That'd be a slap in the face to anybody who's going to be voting for the Greens. I guess the same way it was for Lib Dem voters back in 2010, when there was the coalition of chaos. The rise in popularity in the Greens is a direct result of the fall in popularity of Keir Starmer, so no, absolutely not. He's right to rule that out. That's what the 150,000 plus Green members, I'm sure, would like to hear as well.
Let reform into number 10.
Well, there's two things there. So in a recent poll just yesterday or the day before, Greens are actually outpolling the Labour Party. We're in 3 points ahead. So the real question you should be asking Keir Starmer is, will he stand aside to make sure that Nigel Farage...
Yeah, it's Labour that are splitting the left. Well, they're not on the left. We all know that. But mainstream journalists certainly think that there's left splitting going on and that Polanski's to blame for it. Oh, the level of journalism in this country. We're talking about political editors and presenters that don't even know the basics of the political spectrum. That anyone who's studied sociology is taught very early on, before you get into the semantics of it all. Jesus wept.
Farage isn't Prime Minister, but more widely, I was answering about Keir Starmer. I don't think Keir Starmer will be the Prime Minister at the next election. I think it's another question whether he'll even be an MP. And so will I work with a future Labour leader? Depends who the future Labour leader is.
Oh, who would you like?
It's not really for me to decide who the Labour leader is. What I would like to see is more and more people voting and joining the Green Party, which is why membership of the Green Party has over doubled in the last 2 months. I intend to keep helping make it grow.
OK, but a lot of people in the Labour Party who might fancy some sort of a...
Okay, but God, I've got to go back into my big bag of bullshit here. You know, he will go, oh yeah, that's a good point. Let's talk more about these issues that you're raising, Zach Polanski. Huge, gargantuan bag of bullshits underneath that desk.
Aligned with the Greens, would be quite interested to know who they might support in the event that there's a vacancy that would make that alliance easier. Give them some guidance.
Well, I can give some examples. I think Nadia Whittome, for instance, would make an excellent leader of the Labour Party. I don't think it's something she's necessarily in her ambitions right now, nor would the Labour Party, I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying, necessarily support that.
A left-wing MP, a very left-wing MP.
Well, I think you say very left-wing, but actually when we look at what's happening in this country right now, look how far we've shifted to the right.
Yeah, very left-wing, very left-wing, very left-wing. Just, again, re-demonstrated my point. Let's just look at that again. All right.
Nor would the Labour Party, I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying, necessarily support that.
A left-wing MP, a very left-wing MP.
Well, I
think people in the Labour Party who might fancy some sort of alliance with who they might support in the event that there's a vacancy that would make that alliance easier. Give them some guidance.
Well, I can give some examples. I think Nadia Whittome, for instance, would make an excellent leader of the Labour Party. I don't think it's something she's necessarily in her ambitions right now, nor would the Labour Party, I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying, necessarily support that.
A left-wing MP.
Nadia Whittome.
A very left-wing MP.
Well,
very left. What is she, a communist? What is she, a hardline Maoist? What are you talking about? Hard left? Hard left? Oh, of course, she's perhaps to the left of Gordon Brown and Tony Blair. Get real, Trevor. This is amateur. This is amateur crap.
I think you say very left-wing, but actually when we look at what's happening in this country right now, look how far we've shifted to the right in terms of the conversation around migration, the conversation around privatising our National Health Service through the back door. I don't think these are very left-wing ideals, and I don't think that would be a problem if they were. But actually what I'm saying is where the majority of the country are at, which is we should nationalise our public services, invest in our National Health Service, and tax multimillionaires and billionaires just a little bit more.
Well, tax multimillionaires and billionaires... only them? That's not going to raise much money.
No.
It is. Oh, Trevor. Oh, Trevor. I despair, I really do. I despair for the lack of quality. That's not going to raise much. Oh, shit. The owners of this channel are billionaires. What are we going to do? That's a great one. Yeah, feed him this line. Feed him this line. It's not going to raise much. We've only got all of the money. Oh. So even if they only have just barely 1 billion, they're barely a billionaire, and you tax them 1%, that's still £10 million, Trevor, each. There are thousands of billionaires in this country. I mean, come on, look at the look on his face as well. He's so proud of himself with that one. Fucking hell. Fuck me running, Trevor Phillips.
So there's other things like bringing capital gains tax in line with income tax. The reason why that matters is right now we tax earned income more than we tax unearned wealth. That seems absolutely outrageous to most people as a result of political choices, and we can make different political choices.
The Chancellor, it appears, is likely to raise income tax, maybe 1p, 2p, for everybody. Will your members of Parliament vote for that?
I can't demand what our members of Parliament vote for because they have a free vote, but I would say the principles that we're all standing by is that those with the broadest shoulders should face the biggest burden, and that doesn't make sense to do that across the board universally. People are struggling so hard right now.
So no, you don't want to rise an income tax?
No, people are tired and exhausted. Their wages haven't gone up, but food prices are going up. How can you make some of the hardest work...
Wealth tax, wealth hoarding tax. We've got to stop it being just kept offshore. For a start, at least, because not only are they hoarding wealth, they're not contributing to the economy. It's dead money in terms of the UK economy. It just sits abroad in offshore accounts and doesn't do anything to stimulate whatsoever. And yes, the working classes have been under so much burden for so long. How can we possibly squeeze any more out of them? It's got to be the rich that pay.
People who haven't had a pay rise in years pay extra tax and allow multimillionaires and billionaires to continue not paying capital gains.
All right. Your party, probably of all the major parties, has the clearest position on this issue of gender identity and so on. You believe trans women are women.
Here we go. It's such a marginal, niche issue. Let's get on to this marginal, niche issue that we know that a lot of right-wing arseholes watching will be extremely concerned about. But in terms of the general public, no. Marginally, what pronouns people use, who doesn't have a cock, this kind of thing. I think it's pretty pathetic to go to such laws as to, this defines your politics and why people should vote for you.
Was the BBC right to censor its presenter Martin Croxall for her eye roll at having to say the words pregnant people?
Well, I push back first of all and say it's not a belief. Trans women are women and trans men are men, and also non-binary identities also exist. And I think it's always important to be really clear about that. In terms of the BBC, they obviously have their own editorial guidelines. It's not for me to tell the BBC how to conduct themselves. In fact, it's for me to be scrutinised. If you're asking me my opinion, though, I think it's really important that journalists are independent and partial. And I think eye-rolling as a journalist is clearly an unprofessional
I think she just said, if trans women are women, why don't we just say women?
If trans women are women, why don't we just say women?
Yeah, who needs pregnant people when you've got the word women?
Well, it wasn't him that said it, Trevor.
Well, I think those are different questions to the question you're asking me, which is, should a journalist be eye-rolling? And I just think it's quite obvious, no, they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Zach,
got to agree. Well, that's the end. Oh, bloody hell, that was pathetic. Pathetic from Trevor. Really great responses, though, from Zach. I've never seen him caught in the headlights over anything. Not that he's getting particularly quality material from the interviewers, if you know what I mean. It's pretty easy to bat this crap away, but he does it very well. Let's have a look in the chat. Quite a lot of you agreeing with what Polanski said there. Got another clip with him in it. This is more light-hearted. This will make you feel a bit better than that Sky News trash. Just a moment, people. Just getting things in order here. But in the meanwhile, please do make sure you've hit thumbs up on the stream. Everybody, I can see a few current viewers haven't hit thumbs up yet. Please do make sure that you do that. Give us a share on your social media as well. We're on Blue Sky, Twitter and Mastodon. You can give us a follow at MyLeftEyeUK. Can you dig it?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Yeah, good point, Elwedo, in the chat. I can only see that intensifying as we get closer to the next election. That is the pile-on Polanski. But I think he can hold his own and fight his corner pretty well. He's demonstrated that very thoroughly so far. And he's had to answer... I think we've already, perhaps, maybe had some of the worst of it with this hypnosis breast growth thing that they still keep trying to bring up now and then. These are this, these are that. No, the policies are sound. They can't argue with it. Fight as they might.
Socialists. Oh my God.
Looks like it's running steady now. Sorry to anybody who experienced a little bit of buffering there. That seems to have resolved itself. Right, let's check out this second clip, like I said, a bit more upbeat and light-hearted. Zach Polanski on the last leg. Might be pushing it a bit using this clip, so it might be absent for anybody who's watching back later on, just to get that footnote in. It does happen now and then. This is good though. Let's check this out.
There's always tricky decisions and billionaires and actually...
Oh, I should point out as well for anybody who's not from the UK, who doesn't know the show, The Last Leg, it's a comedy show and it's hosted by and created by people who are all disabled. So that's why Zach does, another reason Zach does a great job here. He obviously supports disabled people's rights.
Tax for rich.
Could you imagine Rishi Sunak on this, like, just with those kind of questions? Oh, just, but Zach Polanski, no, obviously.
There should be
Yeah, and there's this massive deficit. This is the thing. The global south, most of the countries in the global south don't have the kinds of money that they need to defend themselves against the climate crisis, which was, by the vast majority, created and caused by the global north, who are being stingy and tight on what they're putting in the pot to protect the rest of the planet. And they need trillions. They need about 2 trillion. That's got to be what's in the global pot. And I think so far they've just reached a few hundred billion. Throwing some sick burns out there. I didn't see this when it went out. I've only seen this compilation that I'm pleased to be able to share with you, but I think I will check out the full show later on. This is it's on Channel 4 in the UK. Yeah, but he's holding no quarter. He's not holding back. It's good to hear a politician being so honest, breaking the mould. Again, just imagine anyone else. I said Rishi Sunak, but even Johnson or whoever wouldn't cope in this environment. It's good. It's great.
like people.
He's dancing, people. He's from Manchester, actually. Yes, dancing. A politician is dancing on live television, or was on live television. Andy Carter, thanks a lot for that gifted membership. Just updated the goal there, 116. Great to see you on stream as well. Kimberly Moore Davis, please do enjoy your perks. Big up Andy Carter in the chat, please, people. Solidarity this Socialist Sunday. But what is this? He's on stage and he's dancing.
Damn, brother, where you from?
And he's pulling it off. doing all right with her 12 kids. Very good, very good. That's just about the end of the compilation, though, people. Theresa May's robotic intro. I nearly used that on the last video, actually, where I just did the strong and stable snippet. It was that we nearly used the robotic thing as well. That was cringe. That was pure cringe when that happened. Well, she got what was coming to her in the polls anyway. Took a massive hit from JC, of course. Not quite enough. That was so frustrating. I can remember that. Much better from Zach Polanski there, though. Yeah, I'm going to check out the full episode later on of the last leg. How do you think he did there? I think he's killing it. Make no bones about it. I don't think anybody could accuse Zach of not taking the opportunity to fill that vacuum on the left, which he's thoroughly done so. I think your party can make significant gains as well. I think the shaky start is still sort of being brought up, coming back to haunt them, and they'll shake that off. Eventually, we're seeing their membership grow over 50,000 as well. And another thing they have to their advantage is they have this different format. When they have meetings, it's more of a citizens' assembly. Well, it is kind of a citizens' assembly format, as opposed to the traditional political party get-togethers. And they can do it together and make a lot of gains at the next election. That much is certain, but the only question is how many and how well. Could Zach surprise us all? Could he be involved in discussions in some sort of hung parliament? Some people have suggested. Scheduled for a long way away, but we'll see. Something else on UK politics now. An MP from the Northwest, the MP for Wigan in Lancashire, which is over to the west of, northwest-ish, of Manchester. The latest to be in the news for all the wrong reasons this time concerns who she appointed for a football watchdog. She claims it's unknowingly. It's always, I had no idea, I had no idea I had to pay stamp duty. Had no idea that you have to register yourself as a landlord if you're going to rent out a property and make £3,200 a month. This week, they've forgotten that they might have breached public appointment rules. Lisa Nandy has with her choice to be the boss of England's new football watchdog. Football's been in the news for other reasons this week. I'll get onto that and why Lisa Nandy is tied into that. But she named sports rights executive David Corgan as the government's preferred choice to run the new regulator in April, but she later stood back from the process after establishing that Mr Corgan donated £2,900, and she must have forgot about that, of course, to a 2020 leadership campaign, according to a report. Oh shit, yes, I got £3,000, didn't I, from someone. I just forgot about that. It was 5 years ago. It's a lifetime ago in politics. So Sir William Shawcross, Commissioner for Public Appointments, said Nandy should have checked beforehand and taken any necessary consequential action. I won't go through this whole article. I've got a clip lined up. She was on Laura Kussenberg, I think it was, earlier today, so we'll take a look at a snippet of that. if you'd like to enjoy a more in-depth analysis of Laura Kussenberg, I do recommend you stick No Justice and Kevin Logan onto your playlists. I think that's something they do regularly on a Sunday. So at No Justice NTG and at Ploppy111 are often in conversations together. Two great channels there, highly recommended for anybody watching. But I'll just throw in my 2 cents for this segment of Lisa Nandy's appearance.
Why did you not declare he had specifically given money to your leadership campaign?
Because I didn't know, and the report, there's been a thorough report.
I didn't know. People just throw thousands of pounds at me all the time, and it's easy to forget, you know. £3,000. What's £3,000 to Lisa Nandy? It's not even a month's wage. Not even half. Fuck, that's sick. Yeah. So I didn't know. I honestly know. She knew. She knew. She's full of it. She's always full of it. Your typical careerist neo-lib. We're going to hear the typical neo-lib excuses that we've heard from Labour so far and the Tories before them. Pathetic. She should be ashamed. She should be disgraced. I think she should step down for this. If not, what I'm going to be bringing up after this interview.
By the Public Appointments Commissioner, who is independent of government, that has accepted that I didn't know about that donation. It was below the amount that was required to be declared to the Electoral Commission. It didn't appear on any of those lists, and it wasn't in the information that I requested and was given at the time. As soon as I...
Now, come on, you don't get £3,000 from a whip round at a, you know, a local rally or whatever. You went to a... What did you go to? A working men's club, and they had a whip round for you. There, you know, you talk about £3,000 from one individual. That's not the usual Labour way. It certainly wasn't the way that they were getting donations from people under Corbyn.
I did find out, of course. I declared it, I chose to declare it, and I recused myself from the process. So I didn't appoint Mr Cogan. I didn't take the decision on that. It was delegated to the Sports Minister.
But why was it not discussed at the interview that he was a Labour donor?
It was discussed at the interview that he was a Labour donor.
He ended up being appointed, is the thing.
It just wasn't discussed that he donated specifically to me because I didn't know about that. He hadn't recalled it. But as soon as that was discovered, as I said, as soon as I was given that information,
as well.
That same day, I'd put that information into the public domain and recused myself from the process.
But he didn't think that it wasn't, he didn't realise that it was relevant to say to the world and say to civil servants and talk at his interview about the fact that he had given money to the person who was the Secretary of State.
Yeah, even a piece of, you know, crap journalist, so-called Laura Kussenberg has got your balls against the wall on this one, Nandy. You forgot, he forgot, everybody forgot. It's just so insignificant.
David Cogan is somebody who is well known to be associated with the Labour Party and has never made any secret.
And everybody knew that, but this is about the important process that surrounds these appointments. And you say, first of all, that you didn't know, and then second of all, although the Public Accounts Commissioner says it wasn't discussed at the interview, that it didn't occur to him to bring it up either. Why did your department not disclose that he'd donated nearly £35,000 to Labour in the years before his appointment?
Look, Laura, I'm really happy to answer.
It gets even worse. 35 grand over 10 times that amount. What did... Again, just conveniently forgot about that, did you?
To your questions about this, but
35.
I can't speak for David Cogan about why he didn't disclose that donation.
But why did your department not disclose it?
They did. They disclosed it on a number of occasions, but what they didn't do was add a line to a particular press release about David Cogan having donated previously to the Labour Party.
But whether it's a press release or you not knowing or it not coming up fully in the way that it ought to have done at the interview, this just gives a picture that either it was just sloppy or what the Conservatives would call it is cronyism. It's all a bit convenient that somebody who was a well-known Labour donor got this great job.
Well, that would be rich to hear from the Tories, but again, yeah, it's low-hanging fruit. It's slim. It's what do you call it? They can't miss. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Been caught out, plain fair and square.
The difficult question for the Conservative Party is, if he's simply a crony, why on earth did they put him on the shortlist in the first place?
But this question is for you. This process was full of mistakes, whether they were inadvertent or not. You're the Secretary of State. It looks terrible, does it?
I take full responsibility for it. We didn't meet the highest standards throughout this process. That is on me. I'm responsible for the Department of Culture, Media.
Right, off you go then. Pack your bags, get your shit back to Wigan, and yeah, just do one. Because I, for one, have had enough of Lisa and Nandy.
And sport and our appointment processes, and I have unreservedly apologised. I think people would expect us to uphold that.
I'd expect you to step down immediately. And like I said, not just for that, but for this, Lisa and Nandy, in relation to football, again, has been in the news recently. I'm sure a lot of you will know what I'm getting at. And let's just bring up this clip. Of course, she said that the banning of Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, these racist, violent football hooligans, being banned from attending the recent match, which they lost 2-0, by the way, in Aston in Birmingham. She described it as anti-Semitic. She was so desperate to pull that one out to appeal her lobbyists that, appease the lobbyists, I should have said, that she tried to use that one. But of course it was a completely legitimate banning for their reputation, their previous actions in the UK and elsewhere in the world. Completely violent, far-right thuggery. There's no other way to describe it, and that's been reaffirmed by West Midlands Police, who had this to say, and again, this completely contradicts the narrative that Lisa and Nandy tried to spin. So, another reason that she should step down, as far as I'm concerned.
There is a section of Maccabi fans, not all Maccabi fans, but a section of them who engage in quite significant levels of hooliganism.
There's a lack of clarity. Maccabi Tel Aviv told us they're not too sure why their fans were banned. Why were their fans banned? Was it the threat to them or the threat by their fans?
Yeah, so I'm aware there's a lot of commentary around the threat to the fans being the reason for the decision. To be clear, that was not the primary driver. That was a consideration. We have intelligence and information that's...
Yeah, so the playing the victim thing has been called out for the crap that it is.
Says that there is a section of Maccabi fans, not all Maccabi fans, but a section of them who engage in quite significant levels of hooliganism. What is probably quite unique in these circumstances is whereas often hooligans will clash with other hooligans and it will be contained within the football fan base. We've had examples where a section of Maccabi fans were targeting people not involved in football matches, and certainly we had an incident in Amsterdam last year which has informed some of our decision making. So it is exclusively a decision we made on the basis of the behaviour of a subsection of Maccabi fans, but all the reaction that could occur obviously form part of that as well. There are football clubs that have a significant group of fans, who are ultras if you like. The difference here, I guess, is that they didn't just confine it to other football fans. In the past there have been clashes that have gone beyond that, and clearly, as you've alluded to, the sensitivities around the Middle East mean that the potential for that to kind of exacerbate current tensions is so much that we felt this was the most sensible way of managing the risk.
Maccabi Tel Aviv are very concerned. They think their fans are being unfairly maligned. They were attacked in what have been called anti-Semitic attacks in Amsterdam last year. The only convictions in Amsterdam were for attacks by locals on their fans. But you formed a very different conclusion. Is that from the Dutch police?
We are absolutely not saying that in Amsterdam that the only fans causing trouble were the Maccabi fans, but what we were very clearly told is that they played a part in causing trouble.
They're the instigators. They're always the instigators, and there are people who stand up against them. That's what he's getting at really with this. They always instigate the hate and the violence because that's just the nature of the thugs and hooligans that they are for the vast majority.
Particularly a day before the match, that absolutely resulted in the following day there being attacks on Maccabi fans, so it wasn't all one way. But that's the whole point, really, so that kind of escalating tensions, the escalating violence as a consequence, is what we were trying to prevent here in Birmingham.
We've seen Zionists not welcome signs. Are they acceptable?
Our understanding is that they don't quite contravene hate crime, whether they're acceptable.
Yeah, because the police know the difference between a country and a religion. Whoever's doing this interview should perhaps look that up.
Acceptable as a matter of judgment.
Yeah, another bullshit question there, but well responded to, I think, there, from proud that you'd hear me giving such accreditations, but that's the bare truth of it. That's why they were banned. So Lisa and Nandy lied about that as well. As conveniently forgetting donations before appointing certain people. She's got to go. She's got to go. And we shall certainly take lessons from other countries who have done the right thing and chosen to ban all Israeli football teams, domestic and international. There's an ongoing campaign to appeal to FIFA and UEFA. So this came in just yesterday. Ireland are now on the list of countries who support that boycott.
Just a little bit of breaking news from the world of football. We're hearing that the Football Association of Ireland has approved a motion to ask UEFA to ban Israeli teams. They held a vote on an ordinary resolution. It passed by a majority of 74 in favour, 7 against and 2 members abstained. 2 reasons. They say the organisation of clubs in illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank without the consent of the Palestinian Football Association. That's in breach of FIFA statutes. And also, they say the failure of the IFA to implement and enforce an effective anti-racism policy, again in breach of UEFA statutes. More on that throughout the evening.
Well done. You have to say well done, Ireland. We could take a few lessons from that. Do approve. We need to stamp all hate out of the game. Israel needs to be banned. Right-wingers are still, you know, boo-hooing and crying over the fact that footballers take a knee at the start of Premier League games now as part of the Kick Racism Out of Football campaign. Good point in the chat as well, Morbius. They should be banned from Eurovision as well, not just because you know how to read a map. Let's see, we've got Europe over here. And in the, well, I guess you'd have to describe it as the middle of the East, Middle East, even, if you want to put it that way. Yeah, And they banned Russia, of course. So it's double standards, not just geographically inaccurate. So that rounds off the UK news for this week. I'm sure there'll be more to come as we get through the next week, of course. Did say we'd go over and just check out some of the latest from COP30 for what it's worth. We'll go over there in just a moment. One thing I'd like to see next week, though, is increased pressure on Lisa Nandy. Fingers crossed Starmer might be forced to make her resign. Ha ha ha.
Oh, God.
Right, the 30th incarnation of COP. They really, really, really mean it. Really times 30 this time. That's the president of the host nation, the President Lula of Brazil, criticising Donald Trump for his stance on climate change. Trump, who is not attending the meeting, of course, in the Amazonian city of Belém, was called a liar by the leaders of Colombia and Chile for his rejection of climate science. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer acknowledged the waning political support on climate change. He said it had been a unity issue internationally and in the UK, but today, sadly, that consensus is gone. Well, you're the one kissing boots in the Oval Office, Keith. Over the next 2 weeks, countries will try and negotiate a new deal on climate change with a particular focus on channeling more money to forest protection. Whilst many leaders from the world's largest nations, India, Russia, US and China, are notably absent from this year's summit, and while Trump isn't attending this meeting, his views on climate change are certainly on the minds of many other leaders present. Without naming the US leader, President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, that's some name, that's a mouthful, apologies, of Brazil, warned on Thursday of extremist forces that fabricate news and are condemning future generations to life on a planet altered forever by global warming. Yeah, again, all finely wrapped up words, what's actually going to happen. I pointed out the wealth gap between the global north and the south. Those who are bearing the most responsibility are failing to bear the financial burden of this. Literally leaving some small island nations to be swallowed by the sea in their entirety. Nations that, again, don't have the means, they don't have the size of the economy to be able to deal with this. They need help just for their very survival. Where rainforests and tropical forests are concerned, the hope is that 25 billion could be raised for the Tropical Forest Forever facility from public resources, mainly from developed countries like the United Kingdom, to support governments and communities protecting the world's rainforests like the Amazon and Congo Basin. Well, Starmer's got wars to pay for. I'm not so sure about that one. With Prince William there, of course, mentioned before, was on the jet. Tosser. I mean, just, you know, the barefaced insult that is, really. It's pretty revolting. And he's aging by the day, isn't he? How old's Prince William? Was he in his early mid-40s? But That's just it with being a royal. Despite the vast privilege and wealth and just the lifestyle itself of royalty. Aging like the Sith. So this goes on for a fortnight. As I said, I'll be referring to this in future content. That's the story so far. Like they pointed out though, the main thing you need to know, it's been shunned by Trump. China as well, but China are actually doing the most in terms of wind power. They're by far the biggest producers of wind in the world. They're doing quite a lot to counteract their CO2 emissions. Can't really say the same for the United States of America though. India also came up, the fastest developing nation in the world, of course, and one of the increasingly large emitters. So I can't say I'm optimistic. I don't think you can blame me for that. This channel itself isn't very old, but there is I believe it's a members only video about the last COP, if you want to check that one out. Members, please do. But my thoughts back then were more or less the same as they are now, a year later. What they're going to get to, COP 35, COP 40. They just want to get a quick soundbite, and that will be it. Back on the jet. Not the Brazilian. Obviously he's from Brazil. But Prince William going over there, completely pointless. Keir Starmer going over there, completely pointless. They'll have huge lit up signs outside as well, or something like that, huge video screens, or perhaps things of that ilk. You know what I'm talking about, people. To put those sort of things into context, here's a little stat for you. The next time you're walking around city, or perhaps your town has got one of these, you'll see them on the pavement, often on the back of bus stops or whatever. For example, these new advertising video screens and those sort of things. You might have seen them. Some of them have got sort of public phones and things attached to them. But one of those screens uses the same amount of power as 5 houses does every day. Yeah, just one of them. Put that in the stat bank. Your climate stat bank. We need words, not action. Sorry, we need action, not words. Yeah, so far it's taken non-violent direct action to get governments to do things. I'm someone who's participated in that myself. We can't rely on capitalism to save us, people. So from We're All Doomed, let's try and raise our spirits again with another comedy clip. A bit of a shorter one, this one. But do go and subscribe. These fellow YouTubers, a lot of you will already know them, the Exploding Heads, and another return from Colin from Portsmouth.
Colin from Portsmouth is on the line. Hello, Colin.
I am disgusted, Anthony. Absolutely disgusted.
Yeah.
I know we're not supposed to speculate,
But you're going to speculate. You're going to do some good speculating, aren't you, Colin?
But too bloody right I am. It was the migrants, obviously.
It was the migrant. What was the migrants, Colin? I've missed this. What are you speculating about here? What's happened?
Well, nothing. I'm just practising for when the next thing kicks off, and it is all the fault of the migrants.
You're practising for future events. Hang on. What if this future outrage is not the fault of the migrants, though, Colin? What then?
It's always the fault of the migrants, even when it isn't.
But sorry, Colin, we don't even know what's happened yet. There isn't an event, is there?
That's exactly what they want you to think, Anthony.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing's happened. Everyone calm down. Classic cover-up.
Sorry, a cover-up of what? Am I covering up the lack of the cover-up here?
Of the thing that hasn't happened yet. You wait. By tea time, someone will be calling for an inquiry, and I'll be the only one saying, told you so.
Sorry, just to be clear, Colin, you're furious about an imaginary incident that you've made up in your own head. You don't know what happened, but you've already chosen your villains, and it's definitely the migrants, is it?
I call it being prepared, mate.
Yeah.
Britain used to prepare for war. Now we can't even prepare for outrage. I demand action before the event takes place. Preemptive outrage.
Well, that would be a lot quicker. You want the government to condemn something that hasn't yet occurred or might not even occur.
Yes, for once, let's get ahead of the headlines. They do it on Minority Report, and that's a film.
You want to be Tom Cruise. You're basically Portsmouth Tom Cruise. Is that what you're saying, Colin?
If that's what it takes, then I'll do it. Yes, I will become Tom Cruise. That's how much I love my country. Anyway, mate, thanks for having me on. Love to the family.
Love to the family, Colin. Love to the family.
Why are my hands so little?
The Exploding Heads, Colin from Portsmouth. Another classic there. Preemptive outrage about whatever it is that might happen. Go and subscribe. I like that one. Alright, people. Diving back into the lounge for another quick dose of fondue. So we're coming up towards the end of proceedings, but please do stay where you are. Going to be raiding into another channel, hopefully. Just have a scan who's around. Well, the aforementioned No Justice and Kev Logan, so we'll go into Kev, I think. That's all set up. And yeah, just a reminder to members, please do check out that members first video that's out at the moment concerning environmental collapse and the rise of defence spending. A mini essay video, just a little analysis, some observations. Please do check that vid out. I'll be back with more live streams throughout next week, of course, on The Brews at 10, so please do join me there, hit the notification bell, and then you won't miss out on any content. Just before we do go though, please make sure that you've hit thumbs up on this stream. Give us a share around your social media as well. Do appreciate the support, people. We'll say goodbye to Keith for now. We'll catch up with Keith next week. But speaking of appreciation, another shout out to all of the members on the channel before we leave. Thanks again. People have used the Buy Me a Coffee page recently, used super thanks and super chats, as well as gifted memberships to other people. For just a fraction of the price of a tasty hot beverage, some 99 pence, you can enjoy all of the perks that come along with a membership. Do hit the join button and check those out, please. Wonderful to see the community growing as always. Solidarity, everybody, this Socialist Sunday as well, this Remembrance Sunday special, lest we forget. Keep the peace, fight fascism. Thanks again. And thanks to Graham Turner with the super chat there. Let's show that some support, people. Big Graham up in the chat. Appreciate the support as always, Graham. Long-term support of the channel. Solidarity. Big up, big up. You're all very welcome for the stream. Thanks again for joining me. Stay put, we'll go over to Kevin Logan in a moment. I'll join you there for a bit. Don't forget, as always, give us a thumbs up and a shout out when we get over there. But whether you're watching this back later on or whatever, take care everybody. My Left Eye will be seeing you soon. Free Palestine and Sudan, and power to the people. Solidarity.
Socialists,